Today is January the 22nd. Today, we see the temptation of Jesus. In all three synoptic gospels, we see the temptation of Jesus. Matthew and Luke are particularly interested in that. Let's read the account from the book of Matthew. Matthew 4, 1-11. Then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. He fasted 40 days and 40 nights, and afterward he was famished. The tempter came and said to him, "If you're the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answers, "It's written, one does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city, and he placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you're the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it's written, he'll command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again it's written, don't put the Lord your God to the test." So again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, "All these I will give you, if you will fall down and worship me." Then Jesus said to him, "Away with you, Satan. It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Then the devil left him, and suddenly angels came and waited on him. Beautiful passage. Now, in each one, the tempter comes to tempt. This word for tempt can also be translated test. This is a trial. It's a test. There's certainly temptations. The temptations are physical hunger, Jesus's honor. Throw yourself down from the temple and God will honor you. And he's tempted to a shortcut. Your purpose in coming is to have all of the nations of the earth following you. I'll give that to you. You just worship me. Jesus responds to each one with a passage of Scripture. Now, the three passages of Scripture that he quotes come from Deuteronomy 6 and Deuteronomy 8. Let's take a look at those sections. Stick around afterward.
Deuteronomy 6:10-25 and Deuteronomy 8:1-10, New Revised Standard Version. Deuteronomy 6:10-25. When the Lord your God has brought you into the land that he swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob to give you, a land with fine, large cities that you did not build, houses filled with all sorts of goods that you did not fill, hewn cisterns that you did not hew, vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant. And when you have eaten your fill, take care that you do not forget the Lord, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. The Lord your God you shall fear. Him you shall serve, and by his name alone you shall swear. Do not follow other gods, any of the gods of the people who are all around you, because the Lord your God, who is present with you, is a jealous God. The anger of the Lord your God will be kindled against you, and he would destroy you from the face of the earth. Do not put the Lord your God to the test, as you tested him at Massah. You must diligently keep the commands of the Lord your God, and his decrees and his statutes that he has commanded you. Do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, so that it may go well with you, and so that you may go in and occupy the good land that the Lord swore to your ancestors to give you, thrusting out all your enemies before you, as the Lord has promised. When your children ask you in time to come, "What is the meaning of the decrees and the statutes and the ordinances that the Lord our God has commanded you?" then you shall say to your children, "We were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. The Lord displayed before our eyes great and awesome signs and wonders against Egypt, against Pharaoh and all of his household. He brought us out from there in order to bring us in, to give us the land that he promised on the oath of our ancestors. Then the Lord commanded us to observe all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our lasting good, so as to keep us alive, as is now the case. If we diligently observe this entire commandment before the Lord our God, as he has commanded us, we will be in the right. Deuteronomy 8:1-10. This entire commandment I have commanded you today, you must diligently observe, so that you may live and increase, and go in and occupy the land that the Lord promised on oath to your ancestors. Remember the long way that the Lord your God has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, in order to humble you, testing you to know what is in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commandment. He humbled you by letting you hunger, then by feeding you with manna, with which neither you nor your ancestors were acquainted, in order to make you understand that one does not live by bread alone, but by the word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. The clothes on your back did not wear out, and your feet did not swell these 40 years. Know then in your heart that as a parent disciplines a child, so the Lord your God disciplines you. Therefore, keep the commandments of the Lord your God by walking in his way and by fearing him. For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land with flowing streams, with springs and underground waters, welling up in the valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land where you may eat bread without scarcity, where you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron and from whose hills you may mine copper. You shall eat your fill and bless the Lord your God for the good land that he has given you.
So in these passages, Deuteronomy chapter 8 tells the story of Israel in the desert, and the sum of that passage is obey God. Then the next two passages both come from Deuteronomy 6. Don't test the Lord your God. Instead, obey God. And then finally, worship God alone. And as you worship him, obey him. All of Jesus' response are that I should obey God, not you. So what do we do today? Well, we should do what Jesus did. Memorize Scripture, and when you are tempted, quote that Scripture back to the one who's tempting you. That's a great way to overcome temptation. Scripture reading from the New Revised Standard Version by Emily Herrera. Do you like what you hear? Follow and subscribe.